Welcome back to the channel and a new video. As you can see from the thumbnail, we have bought another little van and a project. Guys, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel. I'm sure we're going to have something that you're really going to enjoy if you haven't seen one already. So we've bought a late Vauxhall Vivaro van. There is a bit of a story with this van, and what we'll probably do is get it unloaded and then we'll get right into that. But I thought I'd just give you a quick show around it before we unload it. And I know quite a lot of you are going to pick up on the weight, so we're going to get into that in a moment as well. Quite a nice van. Got a few little digs around it, a few little dents and marks, but overall very nice, and it's the new shape as well. Sorry Chris, what weight did we say that van was? 1600. The van is 1600 kilos and my truck is just shy of 2000 kilos, so we are bang on the weight. It's just under 3.5 ton complete together. So even though we are quite low down, we are very well legal. So let's get this unloaded and look into it and tell you what's wrong with it and what the plans are for it. So straight away, what I will say, I know quite a lot of you say, Rob, they can't all be bargains, but genuinely, if they wasn't, we wouldn't buy them. We bought this van as a non-runner, and we think that the price was very reasonable, but we did not have a clue what's wrong with it, and the company we bought it from said they don't have a clue either. Inside, I asked them what had been done. He said, oh, the diesel injectors, the diesel pipes, loads of stuff's been done and it hasn't rectified it. So we found this in the cab, and I said to Chris, oh, I hate it when people have stripped stuff down and not put it back on. And we had a look in here straight away, and he said, yeah, they put a brand new one on there. And then when you come in quite close here, you can see it's got all new diesel pipes on it. It's got a new diesel rail on it. And by the looks of it, it's got 4 new injectors in it as well, and all the diesel pipes. I mean, don't hold me to the injectors. They may not be new, but they certainly look quite new from here. So, we have no idea what's wrong with it, but I did just get Chris to quickly wang it over. Give it a go, mate. And as you can hear, that starter motor is not engaging at all. So, it was probably, again, this is just a guess. We're not going to know until we find the root of the problem. But we're thinking maybe it was a bit of a slow starter and they've wound that over so much that they've just ruined the ring gear. Or it could be, it could be anything. We're going to pull the jack out, jack it up, and first things first, we're going to get that starter motor off, because we're not going to be able to test things and try and get it running, even try to turn it over without the starter motor sorted. So just while Chris is in getting a jack, I'm going to give you a quick little look inside it. It has got a little rip in the seat there, but nothing major. And although there's a bit of dust in here, it's actually quite a nice van with only 96,000 miles on it. Aircon, nice radio with USB. It's got all the bits on it. Chris, also, you found the bookwork in this, Chris? And it's got service history up to 93,000. You can see there just by the dashboard, bit of mould on there. It has been sat up for quite some time, and the MOT expired quite a while ago. So we get the jack out and the axle stands, get in there, get that start motor off, and have a real good look at it. straight away we got carried away there. The starter motor is buried right at the front down there. Absolute nightmare to get to. So I said to Chris, let's just strip it. It's probably 45 minutes work to strip all of that off. We can then see what we're doing, and also, and most important, we're filming it. You guys want to see what we're doing, and with us lying down underneath or leaning over the top, let's be fair, you can't really see a lot. So we're just going to crack on, get the rest of this all removed so that we can all see it together. So it's about right there, about 45 minutes, strip the whole front off. It's going to make life so much easier. Guys, there is the starter motor, so you can see it would have been a real nightmare to get rid of. Got anything else left here to remove, Chris? No. I think that's it, isn't it? Cut the cable, we get the cables off of it, get the bolts out of it, get that starter off, and we'll have a bit of an assessment and see if it is the starter motor that's toasted. More than likely is. And then we can put our fingers in there, get a torch in there, have a good look as well at the ring gear and make sure that's all right. Starter motor's out, and as you can see in there, let's move some stuff out of the way. The ring gear is perfect. There's nothing wrong with that at all. The teeth have not got a mark on them. So we have just hot wired the starter motor off the jump pack just to run it. The solenoid's clicking, but it's not firing. It's not firing out at all, and that is the problem. You could hear it spinning while it was in the van, but it's not firing out to meet the ring gear. So we're going to take it inside. Before we go and buy a new one, we do want to try and get this van running. So if we can get it run, if we can get this working temporarily, it's not going to be staying on there. We will use this just to try and solve the problem. But looking through here, we're just looking at stuff like this new box that's been fitted. It's only actually got one plug in the bottom of it. We don't know if there's meant to be another two. We've got to do research. The diesel pump, you can see, has got yellow writing all over the back of it. So we reckon that that's been replaced. And also, there's a pipe there and it's not connected to anything. It looks like there's plenty of diesel in that pipe there.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that coming out of that pipe?
Water.
That is water coming out of there, yeah.
That's
so
not good, is it?
No. Loads and loads of investigating to do. And I'm still adamant. Let me try and zoom right in.
That pipe, it's weird.
Those injectors look like new to me. I may be wrong, but we will see.
Drain pipe, Rob.
Just a drain.
Look. Goes in there, just pushes in the end of there.
It does, yeah.
So anything that gets in this top.
In the top there, where the injectors are,
Yeah,
just drains out.
just
Should be facing down though, shouldn't it?
That's it.
That's it. Right, let's get this starter motor looked at. Try and get this wanging over on its own steam. So when I meant firing earlier, guys, this fires out and then spins around. Chris has oiled it all up with a trusty little oil, and now he's firing it. And it's doing exactly what it should be.
Stuck, wasn't it?
It was proper stuck. It did look kind of dry and rusty in there. And again, there's a good chance we're going to have to, well, we are going to have to replace it, because ultimately, once it's up against a bit of resistance, it'll probably play up. Can you spin that right over now, or have you not got it on there? We got bad earth there, I think. You kind of get a gist of what it is that we're doing there, though. And trying to do it with a jump pack's not perfect. Having a bit of trouble there with the wires. So Chris said, let's turn it up the right way so he can see what he's doing. It's a lot easier for him now. And I thought I'd come around this side and he's actually going to fire it up. There you go. So it's firing out lovely. It's nicely lubed up in there. We're actually now going to chuck this back on the van, run the proper wire into it, put the battery on, and see if this does crank over the engine. So it's actually the next day now, and we have been on it for a few hours. We wanted to try and get more in depth, and we couldn't really record it anyway, but you can see how much now we've got stripped out. It kept coming up with a stop-start fault on the display. So you've got the stop-start ECU there. Chris just wanted to get it uncovered, make sure there's no brakes, everything's plugged in. There's also an engine start relay there, or an engine running relay. He's had that out, bridged it over, checked that, and that all seems to be fine. I'll move round to the other side. Around the other side, you can see there is a lot more. Initially, we wanted to get to the fuses, and once you take the glove box open, you can only see what you can see there. But if you go further up, there's actually more. So we had to remove the glove box, which entailed moving a lot more stuff. So we've gone through all the fuses and relays there, and they seem to be okay as well. This little box that we found floating around earlier in the video, you would have saw me mention it, wonder where that's come from. And then we established that it's got a new one. And Chris thought, why have they changed that? So I've just whipped out to grab some bits, and he stripped it apart while I was gone. And as you can see, that's actually burnt out there, and he found this floating around inside, which is a bit of solder where someone's previously tried repairing it. So Chris did just say, you know, this is probably one of the main problems, but what has caused this problem? Also, he noticed when you pull this little cover off, I can't actually do it with one hand, but it's actually fused. And he said, oh, I wonder if they've put the new one on. It didn't come with a fuse, and they haven't noticed it, because you can't really tell looking at it. So the new one's all fitted, and as you can see, we got the front in pieces. That's the new box there, and it's all plumbed in. This relay here was the fuel pressure relay, or injection relay. Chris has also checked that, bridged it over. It hasn't made any difference. So we're now just moving on, and the starter motor is working fine now. When we crank it over, it fires up and cuts straight out. So the engine is a runner. I've said to Chris, let's chuck a Noid light in there. While he wangs it over, we can actually check to see if it pulses straight away and starts, and whether that stops. So have we got an electrical problem to the injectors? We're just basically going through it, testing everything we can. But we are convinced, looking at those injectors, they are all new and they have been replaced, and so has all the pipes. So we're going to move on and just check through and see if we got any power coming out of these feeds for the injectors. So sorry guys, just before we do move on, I forgot to mention, because Chris stripped that old box, he also took the new one off and stripped that and checked that hadn't blown, and it hasn't. That's absolutely fine, and the fuse is fine in that as well. So guys, you might struggle to hear me a little bit. I've set it up on the tripod. I just want to show you basically what we're now getting. Now we've tested through all of that. Chris, just spin it over. So it fires straight up, and instantly it cuts out. It's just stops, just like that. So fire it up again, Chris. So you would have seen there, I was using brake cleaner to keep it going. So it's not actually getting any fuel. So we popped these off, done a Noid light test on it, and initially, just stick that in there. Right, and don't worry about that, the way how rough that sounded. Brake cleaner, easy start, all that does make it sound quite bad. Spin that over, Chris. So if you could see that then, that was actually lighting up that Noid light. But once you run it and you keep it going on ether, the Noid light doesn't work at all. So on initial injection, there's power coming up there to the injectors. But once it's running, we're getting no power at all. So we are inclined to think we're coming round to the idea that this has got an electrical fault, and it's just going to take time of us going through everything. Why I've been out this morning and grabbed a few bits, Chris has checked fuel rail, God, I can't even say it there, fuel rail pressure. He's been through and done so many tests on it, and it's all coming back quite positive. This is the first negative we've actually had. He's running that Noid light with me with a bit of brake cleaner in there, keeping it going. When he cranks it over at first, it flashes, then it completely it keeps jumping out at Chris, and he keeps mentioning it, saying you know, is this something to do with it? What does that actually say on that display? What?
Check, stop, start.
Check, stop, start. Now this van has got stop, start on it, and obviously there's something in there that tells it it's stopped and to cut the engine out, and it's coming up with a fault on there. Is this one of the stop start modules or something like that related that's cutting the engine out and preventing it from staying running, or preventing it from getting diesel? Something's got to be telling it. So it's just going to be a case of we're just going to have to, I think the first things first, we're going to go and buy a Haynes manual for it, and yeah, and like check the wiring and just read right through that, because we've tested as much as we can without getting further in depth. So just before we do go today, guys, Chris said it'll be a great idea, reach out to you guys, see if anyone's had this problem, see if anyone's had this fault on this particular van. So I just wanted to go through what the display was saying, and it's coming up with various different faults. So traction control on, the check airbags, check injection system, check ABS, braking system check ESC, check hill start assistance, check stop and start, engine failure hazard. So as any of you at all had any of these problems on a similar van, I think this is a Vauxhall Vivaro, same as a Renault Traffic. I don't know if they made these later ones the same as the Nissan Prima Star. I know on the older ones they did. So yeah, if anyone's got any suggestions or even had this problem that could help us diagnose it, we sure would appreciate it. So guys, another headache really, but this is what we're all about, and we will get to the bottom of this. It would have been nice to carry on a bit through this video and try and do a bit more fault finding, but like Chris said, you can only go so far. It'll be nice, flick through that Haynes manual, know exactly where everything is, know exactly what to check next. I've just walked into Chris and said, what do you think of this, and showed him a bit of the video, and he's sitting there flicking away on his phone, and he's showing me pictures of crankshaft sensor, and he's absolutely right. On the Peugeot 306 GTI 6, we couldn't get it running. We was having problems with annoyed lights, and it turned out we changed that crankshaft sensor and it fired right up. So, you know, it's just these little things. We're just going to have to keep going through it, but I can't wait to hear from any of you. I'm sure some of you are going to have had these vans and had the problems. I do know one thing though, they are different to the earlier shape, completely different engine. This is a little 1.6, so that is going to be the end of today's video on the new van. Don't forget, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and most importantly of all, if you enjoyed the video, please do give us a thumbs up. We really do appreciate it, and it shows your appreciation. Check out the merchandise if you want to support the channel. The link is in the description, and we'll see you early next week in the next one.